guys. I hope everybody is okay. Please, in case of something is happening, just notify us through any any channel you want to use. Guys, for this moment, we are going to use a presentation uh, that is related to the topic for today. It is called primary and secondary metabolites. Then the metabolites are could be considered as a product, and you will be wondering why we are seeing this topic right here and how can we relate it or how do you relate it to excretion process. Then the metabolites are basically uh, products from the metabolism. So normally they could be considered as the primary or as a secondary metabolites. In the case of the primary metabolites are products necessary for your body. So some of them are produced inside your body, then you use it in your life processes. Then we got secondary metabolites. These secondary ones are products that they are not involved in natural process like let's say like life processes like growing or nutrition, but they have an ecological function. So let's recognize them. First of all, metabolites, I'm telling you, intermediates and products of metabolism. Then this term is restricted only or normally for small molecules. The primary metabolite, right here, you can see it, is directly involved in normal growth, development, and reproduction. So, as you may see, could be carbohydrate. So, a normal process in your life is growing, but you need energy for the cells, so you get as a primary metabolite is the carbohydrate necessary for the energy of your cell. Then we got proteins. Proteins are necessary for normal growth, so you use them. Lipids, protection, energy as well, and nucleic acids. Remember, these guys here, they are really important because they give us the possibility to generate more cells. Remember, nucleic acids are the basis for the DNA. Then, secondary metabolite is not directly involved in those processes. Normally, they have ecological functions. As an example, they could be antibiotics or mycotoxins. In this case, these mycotoxins are toxins against fungi. And then antibiotics, you understand the word is basically anything against bacteria. Then guys, um, normally another type of let's say another type of metabolite in the case of the primary metabolites could be also considered could be we could be considering the ethanol or the lactic acid. In this case here in the alcohol, remember guys, these products they are involved in fermentation processes. So ethanol is the one that is produced by the yeast. The yeast produce this molecule in the absence of oxygen, and that's how we produce ethanol for drinking, as an example. And then the lactic acid is a product of your muscles. Remember, when you do a lot of exercise, then you at the next day your muscles hurt a lot. Then this lactic acid is a product, but I'm telling you, it is not a product like a secondary product. It is a primary product, so we recognize it as a primary metabolite. Then, as an example, as a primary metabolite, a primary product is the citric acid. Aspergillus niger is a fungus, and normally they are used to produce citric acid for any uses, like let's say in the case of food processes, they are using there. Then secondary metabolites normally they they are they are not required for the survival of the organisms. So they produce it as a secondary product. They let's say they produce it because they produce it for a specific function. Let's say ecological function, or also in some cases for protection. So let's recognize this as an example. You got antibiotic from a fungus called penicillium, and then penicillium is a fungus that produces the antibiotic known as penicillin. Penicillin, is like a vaccine, it's a medicine you use for as antibiotic. Then we got also an alkaloid related as the product of a frog, and then the frog needs the protection of the poison, so the alkaloid is a secondary metabolite. Then the secondary metabolite, we can actually understand or recognize the major categories. So we got mycotoxins, antibiotics, alkaloids, amino acids, steroids, and vitamins. So let's recognize some of them. First of all, or before we recognize some examples about that, let's recognize the differences between primary and secondary. Guys, remember, in each presentation you should be taking notes. The notes, we are not gonna check it, but they are important because probably in the next classes, let's say when we go back, then we will be using these notes for all the explanations. Then let's recognize them, primary and secondary. So you can see they are involved in normal growth, development, and reproduction. These guys are not directly involved in them, but probably the organisms could be using some of them. Then we got examples are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, the biomolecules, normally biomolecules. Here for the secondary metabolites are alkaloids, tannins, resins, gums, latex. Oh, latex. Latex, it is the secondary metabolite of some cells in a tree called the gum tree. Then basically is the product we use for anything like rubber. You know what is rubber? Then basically it is used for that. The primary metabolites, they are not poisonous, but instead of that, the secondary metabolites, some of them are poisonous. As an example, the alkaloids of the frogs, the poisonous frogs, then it's one of the characteristics. Then the mycotoxins, basically, they are used as the let's call this as an strategy of some plants to protect the organs from fungus. So normally they could be using them as the protection for this type of organisms. Basically just that. Then some of these things are infected as by fungus, and then some of these highest things like the high concentration of mycotoxins are present in this type of substances. Then antibiotics. Remember, antibiotics, substances used from some microorganisms. There's synthesized antibiotics now. Basically, they recognize the structure of this substance, then they make it in the laboratory. Then normally the antibiotics, some of them are produced by microorganisms or sometimes produced by some plants. Then the antibiotics normally could be considered as penicillin, cephalosporin, streptomycin, grisefulvin. So the most important right here to understand is the penicillin. I'm telling you, is a fungus that produces this. Then this production will be helping us in the infections of bacteria. What else? Okay, let's recognize something else. Okay, the alkaloids. So some alkaloids, they normally have nitrogen in the structure, and these alkaloids, the best example is the alkaloids present in the poison of the frogs. The poison of the frogs is made by the diet they normally have. Let's say there's a frog, the poison of frog. The frog is eating ants, and the ants has venom. This venom or poison goes directly inside the digestive system and then is collected by some cells in the skin of the frog. Then the frog synthesizes this and produce alkaloids necessary for the protection. What else? Steroids, as some substances some people sometimes use, like for growing the muscles, and vitamins also. So you can see the vitamin B2 or the vitamin B12. So some of them produced by microorganisms. All right, guys, and let's see what else. I think that's all for today. Please, guys, take notes where you think is necessary, and remember that the main idea about metabolites are it is that it is a product, but it's an excretion product, right? Let's try to understand this. Excretion could be considered either into the inside of the body or to the outside of the body or the organism. So in this case, the primary and secondary, both of them are products of excretion. It's not like excretion when you eliminate waste products. No, it's just an excretion of something else. Like let's say the cell produce something, and this product could be used in some ways, either as primary or as a secondary metabolite. Alright guys, have a good afternoon and see you later.